Gillespie. And Garret is working through in Toastmasters one of his challenges, which is learning how to improve the focus of his comments, so he can be more concise and get his point across within the timing constraints of each speech. I think we all know how that goes. It's a greater challenge than he thought it would be. He's often been kidded that he can be a bit long-winded, but Toastmasters is helping him see how and why that can be a problem. This will be speech number 4. He will be working on how to say it. Please help me welcome Garret Gillespie. Title of the speech, Something to Say. Garret.
I would like to introduce you to someone. Do any of you recognize him right away? His name is Edward Everett. He was born in 1794 in Massachusetts. He was a representative and senator for Massachusetts. He was a graduate, tutor, professor of Greek literature, overseer, and eventually president of Harvard University. He was an ordained pastor of the Brattle Street Unitarian Church in Boston. He was the governor of Massachusetts from 1836 to 1840. He was the United States envoy extraordinaire and minister plenipotentiary to Great Britain, congressman and senator, and he was an acclaimed orator in his time. Has anyone heard of him before? Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Have any of you had a chance to read the latest Toastmaster? There's an article in this that I thought was very timely, and it hit me home very closely to me. It's written by Meryl Davies, and she covers the subject of my time being your time, or your time is my time. And she opens with a story about her husband going to a speaking engagement wherein the first speaker, he was to follow the first speaker, and the first speaker took so long that he eventually packed up his equipment, went up to the program planner off of the podium and said, "I have no more time, I'm leaving." And he left. She went on to say that inability to stay in time can cause disasters. And it's a challenge we all face. We all have so much we want to share. And you guys know that I'm guilty of this more than any other. There's so much I want to say. And we trim down and we trim down and we trim down, and we still struggle to stay within time. Why does Toastmasters challenge us to do that? They challenge us to do that because, in the words of Plato, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools, because they have to say something. Study out what we're working on here. It's very, very prudent that we take seriously these skills that Toastmasters is trying to teach us. Another interesting point she made is, we have a responsibility as a speaker to prepare beforehand. Not knocking you. I've done it too. You do the last minute preparation, you try to put something together, and I'll tell you what, I am immensely guilty, and it's been one of my greatest challenges. I came into Toastmasters thinking, I can shoot from the hip. Give me a subject, I'll cover it, no problem. It's been humbling to realize how little you actually can cover when you try to shoot from the hip without preparation. It's been a very humbling experience. And she makes the point that while it's the responsibility of the speaker to stay within time, she makes the uncomfortable point that it's even the responsibility of the program planner to enforce that time. Now, how would you like to have that responsibility? Excuse me, sir, you're done. Sit down. That would be the job. Now, sometimes speech disqualification in our little competitions might seem a little bit unfair. But it's important that we learn these things. It's important that we stay concise and remain within these time constraints we're given. We need to organize our thoughts. If there's any preparations that need to be made beforehand, we need to ensure those are done. Good job getting the whiteboard ready today. Good job getting set up for anyone who was part of the preparations of today. If there's anything that a speaker needs to have beforehand, the sound system, the presentation materials, what kind of function do they have? Can they offer you a projector for a computer? Or is it going to be an overhead? It's the speaker's responsibility to work with the program planner to ensure that these preparations are made beforehand. An excellent point. She also says that we need to be able to start on time. And that's why Emmy's always on top of us when it hits 12 o'clock. She's like, bang that gavel, let's get going, come on. I'm going, well, chill out, everybody's not here yet, man. But she knows how important that is. And she's a bulldog when it comes to these things that we're being challenged to learn here at Toastmasters. Now, regarding Edward Everett, not only was he all of the things that I mentioned before, he was the greatest orator of his time. He was actually the keynote speaker at the dedication of Gettysburg National Cemetery. He was the invited speaker. He spoke for 2 hours, starting with Athens and the conflicts of the Greeks, and going all the way through history up to the sacrifices made by the Civil War soldiers at Gettysburg. More than 2 hours. And he extolled the virtues of those sacrifices that were made. Abraham Lincoln followed him. Abraham Lincoln took 2 minutes. And the 2 minutes worth of comments that Abraham Lincoln made at Gettysburg, we now know as the Gettysburg Address. We all know it 80 years ago. In 2 minutes, Abraham Lincoln covered what Edward Everett failed to in 2 hours. Can you form your thoughts? Can you get concise? Can you organize yourself? They both extolled the virtues of each other's speech. They left very respectful of one another. But which one has gone down in history because of its point and its power and its impact? A 2-minute speech written by a quiet man who was revered for his humility and not recognized as an orator.